of the Soviet military buildup on the island of Cuba. Within the past week, unmistakable evidence has established the fact that a series of offensive missile sites is now in preparation on that imprisoned island. It shall be the policy of this nation to regard any nuclear missile launched.
The 6-foot handmade bronze spear, no cooler light being wrangled in by cowboys. This is a really great place for pictures. You can get a chance to come back by.
So as you can probably figure, I got on the trolley for the JFK tour. Supposed to be 1 hour, and there's a narrative going on as we drive. We haven't, and we're just driving through the town right now, and I guess in certain areas will be shown certain things that are associated with the JFK assassination.
Hey, so just before the Texas trip, President Kennedy says, Jackie, we need to come. It was the first time Mrs. Kennedy had been seen in public. The post-presidential motorcade comes right down the street we're on right here on Harwood Street, but President Kennedy, he made 2 stops in between Dallas Love Field and downtown. The motorcade leaves Love Field at 11:50 in the morning. Does any guys know that he made 2 stops between Love Field and downtown? And I want you to do the best job that you can do. Once I make this left-hand turn, look all the way down. Lean into the aisles if you need to. I'm going to set this scene for you. November 22nd, 1960.
We're actually on the
50,000 people.
motorcade,
on both sides of the street.
the motorcade
Every
route.
window in downtown has a face looking out of it. Folks, presidents didn't come to Texas. But here was John F. Kennedy and his wife coming right down Main Street of Dallas. The nearest parking spot was 15 blocks away. And the Dallas police did the very best job they could do. They're at every intersection. And they're dispersed throughout this massive mob. But folks, this was bigger than the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. This was more electric than a Beatles concert. The people in Dallas went crazy. They came down here hoping, pleading, begging, just to get eye contact or a glimpse of the President and the First Lady. And every time President Kennedy waves, that big mob of people push against the police line, and they come into this street, slowing the presidential cars down. But folks, if you'd have been here Friday, November 22nd, right here on Main Street, and if you wanted to shoot and kill the President of the United States, it would have been easy to do. He's in a convertible, in a mob of people in a high-rise city, going about as fast as we're going right now. No way would a politician do this today. But folks, back then, it was a time of innocence. This is the report of President Kennedy is coming down Main Street of Dallas.
Here comes the first car with police security and security bill records. And here is the President of the United States. And what is found, and what a tremendous job he's doing now. There are people absolutely looking from every window here in downtown Dallas. We're going further down, and just about now, as we can see far down Main Street, towards Spruce Freeway, the motorcade is just about to reach the location of the county courthouse.
It is now 12:25 p.m., November 22nd. The motorcade is right here, coming down Main Street. And at this exact same time, back in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., witnesses are being called to testify to the biggest political scandal of the 20th century. They are making a case against the Vice President, OBJ. The investigation was that man, who's never had a real job before. He's never been in the private sector, always in public service. Outside of his wife's money, amassed a worth of $15 billion. Today, that'd be over $70 million. How did the Vice President, OBJ, do this? Now, President Kennedy, he knew of the investigation going on in Washington. He even though he said publicly many times that LBJ would still be on the ticket in 1964. Washington insiders knew LBJ was going to be taken off the ticket in 1964. The Kennedys no longer needed him. The relationship between the Kennedys and LBJ It can be described with just one word. Hate. They hated each other. The Kennedys humiliated LBJ. Before becoming vice president, LBJ is a very powerful man in Washington. He was the most powerful Senate Majority Leader in American history, and he desperately wanted to be president. He ran against Kennedy in 1960 for the Democratic nomination for president. LBJ was the
I'm
favorite.
hoping you can
He
hear
thought,
the narrative.
There's no way that
There's a
Senator
lot of
from
the
Massachusetts
AC in
is
this trolley is super loud.
So as the motorcade is right here, coming down Main Street, people cheering, screaming, confetti falling from the sky. This is the lowest point of vice presidential career. Now we all know LBJ was sworn in as president on November 22nd. Do you know what happened to that investigation back in Washington after LBJ is sworn in as president? That investigation is completely stopped, and this scandal would not surface again for many years. Does anybody remember the name of the scandal? The Bobby Baker scandal, folks. Now, folks, they got to figure out where they're going to have the fundraiser in Dallas. The Kennedys have already put it in the plan. The fundraiser in Dallas is going to be held at the Women's Youth Building in Fair Park. Folks, that's behind us in the eastern part of the city. Governor John Connally of Texas steps in and he says, guys, let's do this fundraiser over at the Trade Mart. It's all the way back to the airport. It's easier. They argued about this. Then finally, Governor Connally, he throws his hands up and he says, fellas, if we don't do this fundraiser at the Trade Mart, I'm out. So the Kennedys gave in, and it was set to be held at the Trade Mart.
This over here
Folks,
to my left side here is a memorial to John
the
F.
motorcade
Kennedy.
is only supposed to come down Main Street, but you cannot get on the Stemmons Freeway and go over to the Trade Mart from Main Street. So they had to put in the right-hand turn on Houston Street and the left-hand turn on Elm Street, because that's how you get over the Trade Mart. And with that change, the president's motorcade now goes right by the Texas School Depository Building. You see, folks, President Kennedy really trusted Governor John Connally. Before becoming governor,
It's kind of a plain memorial. I think they could have done a better job.
And as governor of Texas, John
there it
Connally
is.
has an 81% approval rate. Folks, that's unheard of in politics. That means everybody loves you. So JFK trusted Connally.
This was the
Governor
courthouse.
Connally, he was the architect of the entire Texas trip. Except for one thing. The motorcade here in Dallas.
When we get back behind the castle-looking building, that is the JFK Memorial right there.
Yeah, she was talking about this back here, and that's the memorial.
Governor Connally said, Mr. President,
There's not much to it. Like I said, it looks just like a block.
We need you fresh for the fundraiser. Mr. President, you make a lot more money when you're
So we're
fresh.
coming up to Houston Street where we made the right turn
Not good.
to be right in front
And on November
of
22nd, President Kennedy is wearing a big corset and a
book
Spanish
depository
wrap figure eight around his body.
right ahead of us.
Over at the Trade Mart,
That's it right there.
2,600 men and women dressed in their finest clothes, awaiting the arrival of the president. 2,600 steak dinners have been prepared, and President Kennedy is going to select his steak at random. Now, folks, straight ahead of us, the building, that is the former Texas School Depository. We're going to take a left-hand turn as the motorcade did right here on Elm Street. When we make that turn, look up to the corner 6th floor window.
Up
Folks,
there's the 6th floor
this will be
window.
the last left-hand turn in President Kennedy's life. He just doesn't.
It's the second window from the top on the right side. The window has a box in it, and what's in that box is a camera. And if you go to earthcam.com and look up Beauty Plaza, it has a camera view onto the plaza right here. It has a little bit of a delay, so if you stand down here with your phone and wait till it gets to you, you can screenshot it on your phone, and then you get a picture of yourself standing down here like when Oswald was looking at. Kind of cool.
So this was the last turn that JFK would ever make in his life. There's a lot of tourists here.
And up ahead on the right is the infamous grassy knoll fence. Right here. There's one of the shots.
It's kind of odd that this is a tourist attraction now, and I'm participating in it also.
The presidential motorcade picks up speed and rushes President Kennedy to Parkland Hospital, 3.5 miles north of 35 in that direction. Dealey Plaza is now in confusion and chaos. The police storm up the Texas School Book Depository building because witnesses have seen a shooter up on the 6th floor. The police search the building to go to school. He becomes very disinterested. He skips school day after day, and those days turn into weeks. He spends most of his time down at the Bronx City Zoo until one day he's caught by truant officers.
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Look up here on the right, this hospital up here. This is Methodist Hospital. This comes into play on November 22nd, 1963. The Dallas police put out an all-points bulletin.
Attention all squad. The suspect in the shooting at Elm Houston is reported to be an unknown white male, approximately 30. Surrender bills, 5'5" feet 10 inches, weight 165.
26. And this house looks exactly like it did 50 years ago.
That's the house that Oswald was rooming. He had a room in that house right there.
Walks right through this door at 1026. He goes to the left side of that house to his room. He picks up a light-colored zipper jacket and his .38 caliber Smith & Wesson revolver. He is only in that house 1 minute. Then he comes back out here, and on foot, Oswald goes back in the exact same direction he just came from. But take a look at that little house, folks. On November 22nd, there are 16 rooms for rent.
So this was the neighborhood Oswald was living at in 1963. I think this is where his wife was staying at.
In that direction. Simultaneously, he sees a Dallas police car coming into view.
This is the area where the cops stopped
When that police car comes into
Oswald.
view, that white male suddenly just turns around and goes the other way. Now, folks, right up here on the left, see this telephone pole? This is where it all happened, right here.
Right here at this telephone pole.
404 Main Street. Now, Jack Tatum in his automobile, he comes up to the intersection in front of the trolley here, and he stops. And everything I tell you, he saw in his rearview mirror. Now, a Dallas policeman in his police car coming this way, his name is Officer J.D. Tippett. And Officer Tippett had a very good reason to stop and talk to this guy walking right on the sidewalk. Because one, he matches the description put out on the police radio on the APB. And two, very suspicious that when his car came into view,
Hope you can hear that.
suddenly just turned around.
Anyway, this is the area where Oswald shot Officer Tippins, and he killed him.
He says, "Hey, what's your name? Where are you going?" Oswald leans over and he answers Officer Tippett through the vent window of the police car. And then Officer Tippett, he opens up his police car door. He steps onto the street, takes the gun out of his holster, walking slowly to the front of his car. And as he does this, Oswald takes 2 steps back and to the right. And just as Tippett is getting in front of his car, Oswald reaches from under that light-colored zipper jacket, pulls out his .38 caliber Smith & Wesson, and shoots Officer Tippett 4 times. And Officer Tippett falls dead.
There's the X where the officer fell, was right behind us, right there on the road.
This was
So
exactly
that's
like
that
it did.
door right there, that entrance right there is where Jack Ruby went downstairs and shot Ruby. It was killed right here.
Oswald is being broadcast on live television across the country and the world.
All right, so that's the end of this video. I'm kind of JFK out. I went to the museum and I did the trolley tour. Trolley tour was pretty good, hard to hear, a lot of noise, just because of the AC of the trolley itself, but it was good to see the actual spots where Oswald was caught and how he tried to evade the law enforcement. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.